Biden's biggest problem, man. And remember,
Go get me another pair of
me.
You'll need another one because you'll need 2 squares.
Biden has said so many things that the White House has immediately reversed on. I'm talking in less than 24 hours. And it really does create the perception that he is not running this show. Okay, let me give you a little bit more of this, okay? Because what happened was, Biden said what he said on Tuesday. He caught a little bit of flack in the press, the combination of the mandate ending, but also some of his cheap allies, talking about guys like Chuck Todd at Meet the Press, who started haranguing Biden for not fighting harder on the masks. Now you understand, when you're polling at 33%, the few allies that you have need to be placated, need to be satisfied. So here is MSNBC, as far into the tank as you can go for the Democratic Party, as far as is allowable by law. Okay, here's Chuck Todd saying Biden doesn't fight back enough on this stuff. It's clip 20. It's one thing for a Trump judge to strike down an order from the Biden White House, but it's an entirely different thing for the White House to let it happen without any legal pushback. And it's not the first time recently that something hasn't gone the White House's way. They don't fight back. They don't defend their rationale. They just give you the emoji shrug.
Give me a wedge.
You've got to get mad. That's what he's telling Joe Biden. You guys are just shrugging. No. The Biden administration has gone back legally. It really is scary that I'm better informed as a guy who drove a cab and went to community college than a guy who's hosting one of the biggest legacy media talk shows in the world in Meet the Press. Something that Tim Russert, for our generation, really took into another stratosphere before he left us far too soon. Chuck Todd is a disaster. Because when he says the Biden administration lets COVID regulations go away without legal pushback, hello, they challenged the vaccine mandate, and what happened? They lost the case. They didn't win. And
Did you measure that?
Constitutional authority, no differently than what's going on with the CDC.
These pieces.
Mandating masks.
Yeah, I found one right here.
No, these pieces right here.
They don't pass legislation.
That you just handed me.
Yeah.
So
How'd you mark them?
How'd
you measure them?
That's exactly what
These pieces.
Now you can try to slander this as, oh, it's a Trump joke.
We just cut
The
them.
bottom line is what
Yeah.
happened. There's not
Yeah.
Stuck my tape measure in there and measure them.
Is this whole
No, no. How do we measure them to cut them? I didn't have a tape measure.
This thing has a little tape measure on it, don't it?
Yeah.
Decisions. Here's the reality.
All right.
Mask mandate gone. You're still allowed to wear a mask. It's not you can't wear one. It's not to throw you off the plane if you don't have one. If you like the mask, you think it's going to work, throw it on. Shut up. If you think it works, it doesn't matter what the guy next to you is doing.
Okay.
You don't
You
ever
need
call
these
him
little
your neighbor
squares.
and ask him to wear a winter
Okay.
coat so you don't get frostbite. This is basic common sense stuff. But here's the rest of Chuck Todd exhorting the Biden administration to fight on because they're just too easy.
Every time you do this, it's great.
Don't be. You gotta get. You're scoring it because the top is the hardest part. Part of that thing, and then yeah.
You may even be seeing it with the ongoing inter-party fight on Title 42. The Biden administration, with the full power and prestige of the presidency, with its party's power in Congress on the line this November, has repeatedly looked as if they're easy to roll. Whoa, that's Chuck Todd. Going in just a little bit on Joe Biden. But what is he ultimately trying to get him to do is fight this, because a lot of people in the media, I'm going to play you the montage, they want masks to stick around, because it's become a culture war thing. So the dumbest thing about our country right now is there's a lot of just because going on. There's a lot of just because in our politics. And I say this a lot. Political opposition is supposed to
Get
come
one,
with basic
guys.
common decency,
I don't know where.
where if there's something going on that's good for the country,
Are they different?
you don't
They're
oppose
a quarter
it
inch
just
different.
because
I got it,
you
I
came
think.
from the other party. Like, give an example, the border wall. Donald Trump said build a wall, the Democrats said that's racist, we should be building bridges and not walls. Okay, lo and behold, don't forget that the Democrats and the Republicans both voted for border wall funding before Trump became president. They knew a border wall was good, but they opposed it when Trump asked for it just because it was a political lane to run. What's the end result of that? We have an all-time record high in fentanyl overdose deaths in our country just because we repealed border policies that were working. Remain in Mexico was great. The border wall had cut down illegal crossings by 80%. Title 42, also restricting the ability of drug cartels to exploit weaknesses at the southern border. But they opposed it just because. Chuck Todd in this moment of mask mandates. Now, we have no data that says anyone should wear a mask on a plane. The CDC website flat out says cloth masks offer little to no protection against the Omicron variant. Meaning if you're putting it on, it's for theater. Airline CEOs have testified under oath that the filtration systems, the HEPA filters,
Got a new bag.
no one's catching anything from the plane except the beam.
Should put it in a container, not a bag.
Mask-related fist spike so far this year. You can make a Brad Pitt spin-off called Flight Club, where people go on planes just to get in fights and get punched in the head. By people like Mike Tyson. We'll get to him later. He got fucked on a plane yesterday. But the point is, in this moment with Chuck Todd saying, oh, Biden, you gotta fight harder. He really does want him to fight harder because they want masks. Because on the left, masks have become a symbol of virtue. We're better than you. We're intellectually superior. Look, we have masks on. Never mind that the data doesn't support anything they do. Most of their positions...
You got those comps for there?
That's gender and social construct.
Yeah.
And there's no biological difference between a man and a woman. When everybody knows the truth on that.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
But here is the mask thing is flipping out.
What do we need to know about this polling? Are we kind of in the Wild West? It's every company for itself?
100%. It's a mess.
Just because this ruling was made by a judge doesn't mean that suddenly the science has changed. We know that masks were made very protective.
Basically, Donald Trump as a federal judge today.
Yeah, it absolutely reads like Donald Trump as a federal judge.
So what we've done is we've removed a travel mask mandate an incredibly high level of virus. And right now, as of today, it is less safe to fly in this country than it was yesterday.
Obviously, it's clueless, and the vast majority of scientific evidence is masks have saved millions of lives.
The media is a bunch of... They really are. What are they doing there? They're stumping for something. Oh, masks have saved millions of lives.
But that is a fact check false.
We actually don't know that. We have no data. You know, the old adage is if you have the facts, pound the facts, and you have nothing pound the table. They're pounding the table like crazy. Oh, this is a Trump judge. They're gonna get people murdered. People have to wear masks. Hello, can we have some? Hold up! Or shut up! No. There's plenty of arguments, but they're not giving any data because again and again and again, this has become a culture war issue for the left. And they see Joe Biden, the guy who runs their plays. We're not running his plays, we're running ours. And by ours, I mean everybody in the left-wing media.
And I'm out here in the real world and I know
What's right or wrong?
Oh, that was different. It was even different.
You're listening to Fox Across America with Jimmy Thaler. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
I'm Ben Domenech, Fox News contributor and editor of the Trendsome.com daily newsletter.
Oh, shit.
To join the conversation every
Wrong
week
one.
on the Ben Domenech podcast.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com.
It is Fox America with Thaler. Gonna be chatting with Guy Benson.
I'm gonna try this real quick, see what happens.
I mean, multiple that day.
My ears.
Enjoy talking about it. He's going to join us in the next break, which is a little early in our show for a business. He normally does a show at C, but he is in
I don't know if it's a good idea or not.
So we get some FaceTime, me and GB. Guntho, the show I will be on this coming Wednesday. I know I have some on Monday. Actually, on Wednesday. So give a game face up. We got a statement out of CNN. We just got to talk about this. It's actually on the Emmys are shutting down CNN Plus, a streaming service that launched a month ago for is the actual number? Wow, they spent over $300 million. They allocated $1 billion in total, and the thing didn't last a month. Damn, here it is. The decision is in line with Warner Bros. Discovery's broader direct-to-consumer strategy. In a complex streaming market, consumers want simplicity and an all-in service, which provides a better experience and more value than standalone programming. So basically, what they're trying to tell you is they shut this down because it's just not streamlined enough.
People aren't buying at CNN, you've done the
Didn't have the right thing.
Yeah, people aren't watching CNN for free, so they're certainly not going to pay to watch it. Okay, yes, they had different program offerings, but nobody cared. The thing that happened was, and I told you this during the Trump administration, me and Bill Barr were talking about this the other day. Trump says a lot of crazy stuff. Trump says a lot of stupid stuff.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
No, I stand by the comments, President Trump. He does say a lot of stupid stuff. But places like...
Yeah, the prices are probably more prohibitive than the programs, but they don't get it. So this is what I wanted to ask you. Are some of these corporations, and what happened yesterday to Disney is probably a good indicator of where this could head for corporations, in that Florida voted to roll out those special privileges. Do you think some of these corporations were just hijacked internally by a small faction of like woke people who were placated with other grievances and have just decided if we're not happy the CEO gets fired? Is that where Bob Chapek finds himself?
I think that's part of it. I think there's probably some market research like Nike deciding that in the NBA, like our base,
let's
if you
cut
wanna
that
call it
first.
that, we're going woke.
But I can't.
because it's gonna make
I
us
don't know how
money,
you could do that
and the
like that.
people who are mad about it aren't going to be mad enough to hurt us more than the left would. I think it's a calculation. So what they're doing in Florida, what the Republicans have done in Florida, I'm actually not.
People vote. That's the way you can express yourself now. And so, if that's the case, these Republicans in Florida say, okay, it is our job to remind, in this case, Disney, a big corporation, that there's another side to all of this stuff, and the woke people can have their mob and their outrage and pressure them into doing things, and there's tens of millions of people on the other side of it who Disney has made a choice not to be scared of in making business decisions, and the Florida Republican Party is saying, actually, we run this place, we don't run this place, and you should be scared of us.
Yeah.
And so before you go off and just prostrate yourself before the other side, keep in mind that we actually have power, and we can hurt you too. And that's, I think, the message here. I get it. I think on a visceral level, a lot of conservatives are like, yes, send the message. I just don't like, in principle, a ruling party of a government using the government to punish companies for straying from what they believe is hard.
Yeah, because you didn't account for that back towel.
Be like, well, we're sending the government after you.
Right, and we're gonna use our power, the levers of power, to punish you because you disagree with us. I don't like that. That has like an authoritarian feel to it. The counterpoint, conservatives would say, is they're always gonna do this. So if we don't engage in it, we might not like it. We might think, oh gosh, and we fret about it. This is like hardball, and you either play it and have a chance of winning,
That ain't gonna work.
or you sorry, lose. That, I think, is an argument that has a lot of cash in it. Honestly, like, on balance, are we going to authoritarian left here? And are we going to actually achieve anything? These companies into neutrality. That would be the bullying them into neutrality. If that had a chance of working, I might be for that. I feel like it's assured destruction.
Yeah. Precarious situation. It's the opposite of the advocate. But something needs to be done because at this point, like, what we
I don't know
see
how I
is,
cut
like,
that.
the net effect of all this corporate involvement has been to the detriment of the people they purport to care about. I mean, every corporation threw their weight behind Black Lives Matter.
19 3/4 minus.
Yeah,
You're 19 and 5/8.
Basically, the Black Lives Matter story ends with all of the liberal, white, guilty ladies who donated to it calling the cops on the Black Lives
Besides, and I get it, and I'm actually very supportive of DeSantis. I defend him all the time. I think he's been a very good governor. I think and hope he has higher ambitions. I'm a fan. I'm allowed to disagree sometimes with people that I like. This is one of those cases with the self-awareness that I don't know what the better course of action is. And I think part of the appeal of Trump was he'll fight. And I think part of the appeal of DeSantis is he'll fight and win. And he's really smart about it, even if you disagree.
He doesn't make the unforced errors that Trump does. That's part of the issue.
He doesn't.
Yeah, you're getting the pugnacious Trump thing without all of those, shots into the foot. Really quick though, what would your advice be to Disney? If you were speaking to Bob Chapek and the board, do they keep their foot on the gas and start making rides like Snow White and the Seven Genders?
So I'll answer it this way. I was at a dinner recently. A friend invited me over, and there was a big, long-tenured tech CEO of a company that we all know, who was there for years. And he was someone who was very politically engaged on the left, and the company definitely leans left. And he said if he could go back, one of the biggest things he would change is the politicizing of the company. He said if I were starting a new company, I would make it strictly apolitical.
Or wherever you get your favorite podcast.
So what?
978.
Did you mark it?
Off the building by my ankles, which you can take that chance if you're a skinnier radio host, but me, odds are they're not going to be able to hold on for very long. That's a scare tactic. Hit them in a bad way. Next thing you know, I'm in the puddle of hay next to Fox headquarters.
Fox and Friends Weekend. Join me as I share my thoughts on a wide range of topics from sports and pop culture to politics and business.
The Will Kane Podcast. Subscribe and listen now at Fox News Podcast. Live from everywhere USA. It's Fox America with Jimmy Fallon. Oh, yes, it is. And we are coming live from the greatest country in the world, broadcasting from the tippy top of the world famous Fox News headquarters in New York City. It is Fox Across America with your main man, Jimmy Fallon. Fired up. We got a big hour coming up to have a grown-up discussion about inflation. Texas Representative Kevin Brady is going to be here from the beautiful 8th Congressional District of Texas. We're also going to take some
That one's really far in.
carrier pigeons, whichever way you want to interact with the show. The rules are pretty straightforward. You know the deal. You can be a Republican, you can be a Democrat. Just don't be a... There are big rumors that by the end of today's show, you, the audience, will hear from my mom, the legendary Mary Ann Fallon. We have sent Mikey, the producer, to a local Irish pub to try to get her out of there. Her and my Aunt Fran have a couple of bucks in the jukebox, so no promises. But their songs are up by the end of the show. You will hear the slurred speech of the woman who gave me life, as well as the woman who helped me hold on to it multiple times in variation. We're going to discuss this with Representative Brady. And you've heard me say this a lot when it comes to inflation. It's kind of an invisible tax in that you're paying across the board an extra 8.5% on everything you buy. When you get the core items like food and gas and, cars, those items in some instances are up 40% across the board. If you're living on a fixed income, you're getting smoked because you're paying more money for the same amount of goods. And the frustration a lot of people have with this White House isn't a political statement, okay? Inflation doesn't know who you voted for. When you go to the grocery store to buy chicken that used to be $4.99 and it's $6.99, they don't give you a different price depending on whether or not you're a Republican or a Democrat. You're both getting screwed. You're both paying $6.99. So in this instance, the big frustration has been that the administration is more concerned with blaming somebody for the problem than they are solving the problem. You've heard a lot about it's Putin's price hike and, you know, we got nothing to do with this. Putin invaded Ukraine, and I will concede that the invasion of Ukraine has accelerated things like gas prices. But the reality is they were going up for 14 months before Ukraine got invaded. Correctamundo. So to simply say, oh, Putin, what do you want? And throw up your hands in frustration doesn't help anybody buy that extra pound of chicken. Doesn't help anybody fill up that gas tank. On this show, where we are very much functioning with the greater good in mind, I can't turn a blind eye and be like, hey, well, I'm on the radio. What do I care if you guys can't pay for gas? I've been the guy who can't pay for gas, and 9 times out of 10, I needed the gas to work because I